I did ask for a transcript. I did ask for what that was going to look or sound like, because that was quite a conversation. And I was not given insight into that. And there was some significant pieces of that conversation that were left out that did ultimately have me end up in tears.
Hi, all. It's your girl, Keke. I'm your new roommate. Just kidding. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the biggest social issues we are dealing with in this country. Boom, boom, boom. I have this platform of a podcast, and I'm going to talk and use it to speak up best as I can and get answers on how to help all the groups in this country whose lives are in jeopardy because of these issues. That's what it's about, right? Today, I am joined by the fabulous Jonathan Van Ness, who definitely knows a thing or two on the topic. But first, let's go down the rabbit hole with my mother, Sharon, to get her take. Let's begin, love. When you look at everything that's going on right now, from your perspective of when you were younger or you were my age to now, do you feel like we're doing any better? Do you feel like we just digging ourselves more holes?
When I was 30, my world was different. Obviously we had the internet, but that was like when social media was really taking shape.
Social media when you were 30?
Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, well, not social media, but like the internet. The internet, you know what I mean? Where you could.
I'm like, Mom, it's giving dial up. What is you talking about social? Back when I was 30, social media had just began.
It's so funny when you talk about dial up, because I remember hearing that.
Me too. I'd be like, Mom's on the computer again.
The little dial up. But I think how things have changed. I think you guys can communicate so much more quickly than we can, and then also so much more inaccurately. Like, you guys spread misinformation. You spread so much misinformation that is comical, but it's also scary. And I see things that people say about you, and I'm like, that's not true. That's not even almost true. And then it goes around 100 times, like, oh, okay, but that's not true.
Yeah, you just think the way we communicate and how fast things get around, that can either be good or that can either be bad. I mean, with great power comes great responsibility, so I don't think there's any doubt about that. I want to know what you think about, how not everybody, right? But a lot of people are resistant, especially politically. We've seen a lot of drawback against LGBTQ plus rights. And it's so funny, right? Because I had a conversation. It was a quick conversation with Dad. Obviously, Dad was raised Catholic. He raised us Catholic. Mm-hmm. He's a deacon. And I asked him, I said, what do you think about the concept or the reality of transgender peoples? And he said, what is there to think? They live in their lives. What they live in their lives is, hey, there's nothing, what would there be to say? Right. And I was like, how is it that he gets it? You understand? A lot of people with his background.
Right.
He black, he's a man, he's heterosexual, he's Catholic, he's a deacon. Right. I know a lot of people with that would have a lot to say. And he was just like, we just all in the world, we people, we live, and what's there to say?
Well, I think knowing him for 36 years now, I think that comes from him knowing who he is. That he really respects others because he knows who he is. And I think a lot of pushback, a lot of the things that people push back on with gay rights is a lot of them are projecting their emotional feelings about, you know what I mean? I think some of them are closeted, and the whole thing of, if we expose our children to gay rights and gay,
living in life and et cetera.
Yeah. Then we're going to show them how to be gay. I think that's kind of weird, That's like, if we expose them to fat people, we're showing them how to be fat,
No, but it is silly because
I just think it's people that project a lot, Keke. I think a lot of them are projecting their fears. A lot of them are closeted. But you know what? I do feel that people have the right to say what they want to say.
That's important what you're saying though, right?
Right.
And that I think is a big thing happening right now in the world. It's like, yeah, everybody gets the right to say what they want to say, but how do we as a society draw the line between motherfuckers getting to say what they want to say and people inciting hate speech and hate behavior? There's a fine line there.
Yeah.
But when I was in school, I remember there was a girl in class that used to get really on my nerves real bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't even like she was horrible. She just was annoying. And I kind of, I was. This is by the time. So when I was first in school, I was bullied a lot, right? I was bullied like in kind of kindergarten up until like the 3rd grade, and then when I got into the 3rd grade, 4th grade, I went to a different school. And this school was much more diverse, and I kind of was able to I thrived a little bit there. Now, I wouldn't say we were in a high school level of like cool kids, not cool kids, etc. But you definitely, you kind of more had an individual kind of being. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I definitely was somebody that had friends. Let's say that. And I remember this girl was getting on my nerves in class. and I started to show it. It started to be obvious that she was somebody that I didn't really like. Right. And I remember one particular day at the end of my class, my teacher, her name was Tanya Gamble. I'll never forget it. She said, "Lauren, I would like to speak to you." And I was like, okay, And she said, "I know you don't like so-and-so. And if she annoys you or she's not your friend, that's understandable. But you know that people look at you and you know that people kind of follow you. And if you know something like that, you should not lead them to be unkind to someone else. So say what you need to say to say what you need to say to the girl, but don't allow yourself to be so unkind to her in knowing that you have influence in the classroom and have her be somebody that's bullied or shunned." And I remember that really stuck with me to my end of my damn days. I mean, my days ain't ending soon, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it really stuck with me, what she was saying, because she was saying if you have an influential voice, if people tend to listen to you or care what you have to say, if you can kind of shift the mood in a room, that means you have power. So you should use it
for good.
Good. And I think a lot of people we see, they got gift for gab, or they know how to influence, or they feel like their people are drawn to them for whatever reason.
Right.
Everybody don't use it for good. Sometimes people use it for the wrong things.
Absolutely. No, you're right.
And it's hard, right? Because we don't even know what's good all the time. Like, I mean, for me, it's something that actually gives me anxiety, because I'm like, okay, I do know people listen to me. I do know I have a platform, and I be praying at night, like, God, please let me say the right things and know my right way. You know what I mean? I don't want to be somebody who's like, and you're the reason why everybody wears corn on their ass. Like, oh shit, I done made everybody put corn on their ass.
It's funny because it's funny you say that, and your dad and I are very much that way as well. But I remember when you were about maybe 14 or 15, there was a company that approached us about a perm, like a hair perm for African American hair, and they wanted you to be on the box of the perm, and we said no, because that particular brand was notorious for breaking out, Black people's hair. So we said no to your face being on that box. It would have been a lot of money, but we said no because I didn't want your face on the box telling little Black girls they should use this perm. That's right.
You guys actually did that a lot. You guys actually did that a lot in my career, from how you fought for me to do Akilah and the Bee and not to play the girl that sold drugs to, what's that man name that was in Barbie?
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. I love him, by the way. I do know that man's name, but it slipped my mind right then. But I remember when they wanted me to be in that movie, and you guys said no because you didn't want me to go from being a spelling bee champ to being a drug dealer to my teacher, and just a lot of different choices that y'all made because you were trying to be really careful about what I represented. And Mom, I could talk to you about this all day long. I have to get into this combo with Jonathan, but thank you as always for your time and your wisdom.
Baby, this is Keke.
I am already smiling because my guest today is just one of those people that feels like a ray of sunshine. And I'm so excited to chat with him because you may know him from Queer Eye, his podcast, Getting Curious, or even one of his New York Times best-selling books. Yes, I said one of. Please welcome to the show, the beautiful Jonathan Van Ness.
Keke, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Oh.
Jonathan, me too. I feel like we are the same. So I feel like this conversation is going to be bubbly, deep, light, just full of all the thrills that we need.
Giving me duality. Can I just say, you are my favorite account on Instagram. You You bring me so much fucking joy. I love you so much. You were so good in Esther's video. I cannot get over
Period.
it. And like it just, and also just like you are it. I know that you already know that you're it, but you are it. I'm just here for the music. I'm here for the moments. I'm here for the social. I love just these like moments when I feel like I am in the car with you. I feel like you are telling me my life. And I just appreciate you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I just love you so much. And thank you for having me today.
I feel the same way about you. Like, aside from the fact that you're gorgeous, your hair is fabulous, your fashions are on point, you're always being positive, you're also an amazing activist and you stand for something. So there's like a ton of love and a ton of respect. I want to actually back it up to your childhood and find out kind of what was your childhood like.
Very easy breezy, not really anything wrong. I'm just kidding. It was a little rough.
I'm like, wow, that's like a very fabulous answer.
Really no news. You know, most of my books were just made up. I'm just kidding. No, I got bullied a lot. And I think a lot of what I learned, you know, really young is that being really effeminate, being unabashedly myself was probably not going to be the ticket. So I tried to fight a little bit, but I'm not really that great of an actress. And, you know, my list never lent me. And so I was always very queer. And so my version of like butching it up was like wearing boy clothes, but still being like a cheerleader and being unabashed about talking about my love for like Michelle Kwan, the Magnificent Seven from the 1996 Olympics, and like my guinea pigs. You know, as an adult, basically the same. It's just that I have like cats and dogs now instead of guinea pigs. And there's been a lot of Olympic cycles since then. But I think I just really have embraced like the fullness of who I am. I kind of was like, I've been able to forge a path that honors who I am. And I've been able to thrive in that space, which has been cool. But as a kid, it was rough and it was intense. I have, you know, nieces and nephews that are from my hometown and they still live there. And I look at them and I'm like,
what is the hometown exactly again?
It's Quincy, Illinois. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Well, you just said it there talking about Illinois. I was also bullied in school and didn't necessarily have the greatest experience in middle school, I'll say.
How could you? How? Why?
I mean, I feel the same way about you. I think it's like what you said. Like, I was very talkative, you know what I mean? I was also the only black kid in my class, and Illinois is so segregated that it was kind of like a lot of kids were just now introduced to seeing someone like me, talking like me. Like, my culture was so very much so in the forefront of, and still is, of who I am, and I think that they were kind of taken aback by that. And I mean, I just think, you know, sometimes when you're a person that stands out, no shade, no tea, people can be a little afraid of that, because I think most people are trying to like fit into a system. You know, so I think people like you, myself, and anybody that's, you know, trying their best to live in their authenticity or just has no choice but to live in their authenticity because that's just how they exist. I feel like it would be common that they would have some difficulties in a school system. I mean, maybe things have changed. I would hope that they did, but definitely in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, it was definitely like difficult for me for a little bit as well, you know, trying to be a liked kid in school.
Absolutely. I think things, I felt such a visceral reaction to like, I hope things have changed. And I was like, I don't think they have. Like, I feel like these kids are getting bullied so much. Like, and even like on Queer Eye, like we went to my hometown. We like went to my high school in the Four Seasons and did a makeover on one of my old teachers who like I love so dearly. But there was a situation after we left for Queer Eye where there was an attack on a local LGBTQIA plus youth. And it was really messed up. And I look at a lot of young people now, and a lot of this, I think in some places, in some areas, there is more acceptance in some places, and maybe there's more visibility, but that visibility doesn't equate to like a better lived experience of like young queer people. And I think, in fact, especially with trans kids right now, like it's, you know, it's even worse. Like, because I mean, when did we have 500 plus laws against like targeting? It's so, that part is so intense. But you know, another thing you were saying that was making me think about something, Keke, which I feel like, but I don't mean to keep going on podcasts and then talking about something controversial that'll get taken out of context. And then I'm just thinking, it's like, you know, like that, it's like that bond that, because there is this, because I said at the very beginning, like duality, like two things, like several things can be true at once. And there's there's always that discourse of like the white gay man and then like the black woman and the appropriation of like the TikTok discourse around that.
Yeah.
And I've been like very much like that conversation has been applied to me like a lot of times, like in TikTok.
Really?
And
Where people feel like you may be doing that.
Oh, yeah. Like whether it's like
really?
AAVE or like, like appropriate, but then also just like gay men in general. But I also think that there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, there is a lot of similarities. There is like a lot of appropriation, but then it's like, well, why is that? Like, why? Because I think that for some people who maybe don't have that lived, like for some white gay men, and also, by the way, like I identify as non-binary, but as a child and growing up, I was like, definitely, identified as like a gay man or a gay kid.
Yeah.
I was always just very queer. I didn't understand like what non-binary meant, but in retrospect, definitely
that's what you were. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like black girls, because like I had that experience of like there was me and there was like one or two black girls. And the three of us or the two of us were always getting bullied, dealing with like a lot of shit.
Well, that's what I was just going to say was I think there's a big common thread. You know what I mean? I hate to say that there's like a trauma bonding happening, right? But I do think when people in society are kind of not really respected or looked down upon, and I definitely know as a black woman that's obviously something that we deal with. I don't know who it was that said it, but one of the most hated person in the world is a black woman. And I think when you yourself are in a minority group, you do cling to other people in minority groups that feel the same way you do.
For me, why I go so hard and I'm so passionate about women and black women more specifically is because they were my friends. They were the safe harbor. They were the girls on the playground that would stick up for me. And they were the girls that I cheered with in high school and junior high, like on the cheer team that like had my back and were like down for me. And like when people would say like, faggot, like to this day, when someone says faggot, I turn my head like I always think they're talking about me. And it was like my black girlfriends on the cheer squad that were like, you don't fucking talk like that about my friend. It was not my white girlfriends that did that. And that's why, like on my podcast, for instance, like of all the academics that you could have, like I am steady bringing in all of the black women voices and like always platforming.
But that's what's needed, and that's what changes. That's what changes and shifts the paradigm.
But I'm not even trying to say that I'm like a model for that or whatever. But I'm just trying to say that like the reason that I think that there is some of those similarities is because of there was like little Kekes and little JVNs on the playground and like running around together. And so in some cases, it's that there is this just adoration and admiration. Like I love you. Like I think you are so cool. I want to be like you. It's coming from a place of love, and then also through actions, there's like lifting up. But then there's other times where it's like people are like not doing the work. They are not platforming like diverse voices. They are not aware of the fact that black women couldn't vote in this country until 1965.
I know you're saying you don't want to be a model for it, right? And it's not even about a soapbox, but it's just being like real straight up and saying that's what is missing. That is what's missing is like what you're saying is the appreciation and the value beyond the culture, beyond what you like and how you want to wear your hair and shit. It's like it's really based on the whys, you know what I mean? Why this person is truly impactful, why these people deserve respect. All of that's what is missing. But you also were saying something else good in the conversation that I want to get to.
Yeah.
I know you had a conversation with Dax Shepard recently that kind of went really left, unfortunately, and I want to talk to you about
No, it went real right. It went real to the right. It didn't. I tried to take it to the left, but it went more to the right.
I'm only goddamn for. But what I wanted to say, I really want to talk to you about this because you're somebody that I know I can have this conversation with. My big thing that I see a lot is the gay agenda, the LGBTQ plus agenda, the transgender agenda, this whole like, oh my gosh, a gasp, that they keep on pushing this to the kids and pushing to the. My big thing is that the only agenda is that people stop being beaten, bullied, murdered, and pushed to the point of suicide. I really don't think people understand that the point of normalizing what should be already normal, people living in their truth, being who they are, loving who they want to love, being who they want to be, is also based in the reality that people are being killed for not being able to be. And so I really hate that people don't understand. Like, you want to talk about the agenda. That is the agenda, to save lives, to teach people to understand what they've been brainwashed to think is horrible, so that we can go forward in a world, in a society where people are not hated for being who they are. I mean, I feel like how don't people understand that? Why are they so stuck at the, I guess that is the thing, right? That is the brainwashing, but they just seem so stuck at, this is not right, and I don't believe in this, and blah, 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 blah. And they don't seem to understand that people are dying. And we're trying to save lives by educating motherfuckers on what's going on. You get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they miss that big aspect. And in your experience, and speaking from this, like, I mean, I just want to know what you think. How do we kind of stop that? How do we help? I mean, what do we have to do?
Well, as far as like... Well, I don't know. I think there's a lot we got to do. But as far as, the Dax piece, because so many different things can be true at the same time, I do have lots of feelings. I'm not going to get into all of them, but I will someday. But what I can say right now, which is really true for me, I'm grateful that he had the courage to release that episode. And I do think that he brought a conversation into more people's homes than would have been having that conversation had he not.
What exactly did he say for people that didn't hear it, or maybe they're going to go and check it out?
It's true. Yeah, it's true. It's like, basically, we just got into like a conversation around trans inclusion in sports, trans rights. He's not a real big Biden fan. And then was saying that the New York Times is like a really left-leaning paper. I kind of push back on that, because while it is left-leaning in comparison to like Breitbart or Fox News, they also platform a lot of really intense anti-trans op-eds and opinion pieces. And they have historically been, I just think that a lot of people think they're really progressive and very on the left because they might read the New York Times, when in reality, like, the New York Times is more to the center, especially if someone like me. Like, I am a queer, HIV positive, non-binary person. I mean, I'm an Elizabeth Warren queen. I like Bernie. Like, I'm a left person. So that, so to me, New York Times is not... But so whatever. So then it evolves into this whole, transgender debate. So listen to the episode, have it be for... listen to it for what you will. But I will say this. If you listen to podcasts, you know what an edit is. And that was an edit.
About it.
That was an edit. And that was an edit that I asked for approval or insight into and was not given. So after that conversation, I did ask for a transcript. I did ask for what that was going to look or sound like, because that was quite a conversation. And I was not given insight into that. And, there was some significant pieces of that conversation that were left out that did ultimately have me end up in tears. So I will just say
what triggered you the most, you would say? I mean, I know there was so much said, but what was the point of it?
For me, what was so upsetting for me it wasn't what he said. It was realizing that this person who represents so much of opinions in the United States has these type of deep-seated opinions. But what was really upsetting for me was just realizing realizing how widespread the misinformation and disinformation is around queer people. But what I really wanted to say, backing up to your earlier point about the queer agenda or the gay agenda that, people are so worried about on Fox News, is that, like, we asked earlier about my childhood, and then I went off into this, like, this other thing. But, like, I grew up, in this little town in Illinois, in Quincy. I went to this, like, Christian sports camp every summer for, like, 12 years called Kanakuk.
The name is hilarious.
Yeah, it's all about being in fuego for Christ, honey.
And it kind of could also be a porn name, Kanakuk.
It totally could. But there's these awards that you do in your cabin that's like, who's like the most in fuego for Christ. Like there's like the I'm Third award, because like first is Jesus, second is like your family, like community, and like third is you, like I'm third. But what I'm speaking to here is indoctrination. I'm 36. Right. I still remember what I'm Third is. I still remember what In Fuego for Christ is. I still remember at Kanakuk when they did these little dances that you had to go to, they said to the girls, if a boy asks you to dance, you say yes, because it's rude to say no to a boy. It took him a lot of courage to come ask you to dance.
Yes.
And so the boys, they were revving the boys up to go ask the girls to dance. The girls were told to say yes. Like, that is indoctrination. Like going to Sunday school and learning about, that what a boy is supposed to do and what a girl is supposed to do. Like all of of these are indoctrination. And so I just think, like, what's the straight agenda? Like, the straight agenda is what we have been having and dealing with. That's Hooters.
And even beyond the straight agenda, if we call it just everything agenda, it's kind of also like, if we're not the same, fuck you, you need to die agenda kind of vibe. And that, to me, is the big issue. Because, look, everybody, live your life the way you want to live your life. You live your life the way you want to live it. Nobody's trying to control anybody, but except people are. And that, to me, is the big problem and what we're trying to stop in all regards, right? When we're talking about LGBTQ+, when we're talking about Black people.
You literally just busted something crazy wide open. I just had a moment of clarity. I'm not trying to jump down your throat, but I just had a moment of clarity, and you just said something that's like really intense. So you said, do whatever you want. We're not trying to control people, but they are, right? Because these Christian conservative, like the people who have who overturned Roe v. Wade and like the Marjorie Taylor Greens and like that faction of Republicans and like, which is such a huge voting bloc, because they were shown heteronormativity from a young age and that's what they ascribe to. But then other people, because that's what they were shown. So they were like, well, we've been controlled by this narrative, so we're doing this. But these other people, they're doing something different. So
and this is what I'm talking about when it comes to an agenda. The agenda is to break the patriarchy, the homophobia, the xenophobia. Like, that's what we're fighting against. What we're fighting in is some of this indoctrination that is causing hate between people and between just human beings that should not be there. Because, look, I grew up Catholic. My father is a deacon. I ain't never felt homophobic a day in my life because that's not how I was raised. And so you can love God, you can be, you know what I mean, whatever. You don't have to hate nobody and try to control nobody and stop nobody's life and stop nobody. I don't connect to that, right? I love myself, I love God, and God told me to love everybody. So I don't connect to that. But what does happen a lot of times is there is this really big oppression, and I hate it, and I wish it wasn't there because that's not my experience. Now, did I hear things? Were there moments of confusion? Was there, wait a minute, is there somebody supposed to feel weird about that? Sure, but at home, my home, I was not raised to think and be and feel like that. And so I just think it's so, like you said, it's really a way that we have to stop people from thinking that, to hate. They're teaching people to hate, to judge in all different aspects of the world. They're teaching wherever they're from, whatever they whatever these other outside corners are. I'm not into every little thing, whether it's political or religious or racial or whatever it is. We have to stop this whole hate thing. And I think my big issue, again, with this particular topic is, it's about saving lives. People are dying because of hate, because things are changing, because society is trying to move forward and take us out of the past where people have been oppressed, where women have been oppressed. That's where so my thing is, if you're a person that loves and that you believe in positivity, then you should be for this, because this is what this is fighting against. This is fighting against all these statistics where people are literally being victims of hate crimes. And I feel like I don't think people get that. That, to me, is like, for me, the big thing that I want people to get is that the agenda is to save lives. Let's be about saving lives. We don't care about each other. Just because we don't think the same or live the same, that just seems so petty to me and beneath me. Now, unless you out here killing folks, I can't have that. Now, if you're a killer, if you a serial killer, I don't know about your rights.
But that's like why I think they're like so angry, because like, and why they also don't. When I say they, I'm talking about like conservatives. Like, it's like, because in the press and like in the media, like, heteronormativity really was what was only shown. I mean, like, Will and Grace was like, and like
Love
My Best Friend's Wedding, like, it was like the late 90s. And it was like a huge issue, like on Golden Girls, for them to talk about gay stuff, like in like the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Like, so just, I think that for conservatives that see this as such an affront, like, and like, this gay agenda, and why they see it as such a threat that it's going to turn their kids gay, is because, like, conversely, they think that only seeing heteronormativity is what made them straight.
Right, which is also strange, because if that were true, then there would be no gay people. So that doesn't really make sense. Like, people are gonna
like, why are you trying to control? But it's like this like fear, like this just this fear of like where things are going, can't accept.
And you also broke something off the back because ultimately you're bringing up everything. We're talking about this. Then you also brought up the patriarchy, how misogyny is trying to keep women stuck in the past, the Roe versus Wade, all of that. Ultimately, where I think all this is coming from is like, people don't want things to change, man. They just don't want things to change. People want to keep things as they were. The way that they have reversed affirmative action to me was just like, damn, are we being for real? Like now you guys literally are trying to push things into the past and not move things forward. But what I would love to happen, and what I feel can happen, and what I want to continue to pray on happening is what's going on with the next generation, the millennials, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, because eventually this generation
is that what the people under Gen Zs are called, Keke?
Gen Alpha, honey. That's my nieces and nephew and my son. Gen Alpha.
Keke, I was literally just thinking this morning, I was like, wait till these Gen Zs get old enough to when everyone starts talking about who's ever younger than them, and then when they get shamed for their side parts.
Because Gen Z is just so all up in our grill. It's like, we get it. Y'all the new kids on the block. We get it. We get it. Y'all cool.
When Gen Alpha comes for their side parts, I can't fucking wait. I can't wait for them to get old enough.
Gen Alpha's going to be coming for their next, because they're coming for the millennials next, and they don't even know what we had to go through, Jonathan, in order to kick down these doors.
Or the Gen Z pause. I can't wait for the Alphas to come for you on the fucking social. You have no clue. I remember my stepdad saying to me, there's this thing called the internet. You can talk to people all over the world. Like, you fucking don't get it. We were here. We saw it happen.
Okay. We were all rooting for you. And now they just stab us in the back.
I've never talked to a girl in my life like that.
Okay. That literally kills me all the time. Like, literally, I was hanging out with my sister. She's Gen Z. She goes to an HBCU. I mean, she's so intelligent and amazing. She's just like everything that I'm not, like, especially in terms of an academic. Like, she really be killing the game. And so I did my interview with Kamala Harris, right? And she's like,
oh my God. Keke, when you impersonated Kamala in front of Kamala.
That's when you did the, we did it, y'all.
Keke,
I just loved it. I love that when she did that.
It hurts my queer bones. Like, it hurts my shoulder bones. I'm going to send you my chiropractor bill because I dislodged 4 ribs on that fucking interview. Do you just not want to be on SNL? Like, they've obviously approached you to be like the new main.
I would love to. I mean,
why Lorne Michaels hasn't good. I mean, I hear it's a really intense production schedule, but fuck. Anyway, Gen Z, you were sitting with your goddamn sister.
So
I'm so sorry.
Sister. No, you're good. So I'm sitting with my sister, and this is just how Gen Z constantly slits the millennials' throats. It's because she's like, let me know when Kamala's ready to have a real conversation. Tell her to call me. I'm like, so I guess I didn't impress you with my skills and my communicative abilities to speak to Kamala and still remain true to me and try to talk, but also keep it down to earth. You weren't into that. Got it. Understood. And so it's like, they're so serious and they're also very literal sometimes. Like, I feel like there's this really interesting thing when I look on Twitter and I look at social media these days. The concept of satire now is almost completely like dissolved. Like, everything is so serious and so literal, and it's like there's no space for like art, creativity, and the creativity you can have around language. It's like either you're gonna be flat out or you're not doing what you should be doing. And it's like, to me, that's kind of like, for me, that's the thread, right? I use humor as a communicator. Doesn't mean I'm not a deep person, right? I'm a very deep person, obviously. But the way that I communicate, I do it on purpose because I don't want people to be afraid to speak or to share or to open up. So it's like satire, humor, all of that. That's my way. But it's so interesting how sometimes that in this generation, or not even in this generation, maybe it's the young generation, just in the society at large, everything is so serious that sometimes people don't recognize satire or humor as being a device to communicate. It's really interesting. Anyway.
I don't have words for how much you excite, like, my chakras. I never get this excited. I love you so much. Like, literally, and it's like this every time I see you. Like,
it is like always. I'm very zhuzhed, too.
I remember these things I was going to say earlier but it's from our serial conversation. Can we go back? I just want to say really quick.
Please. We can go anywhere. It's a podcast. Yeah.
I got to interview Stacey Abrams a couple years ago, and she was telling me about like that analogy of like, you know, why are we fighting over crumbs when there's like a whole fucking pie that like these fuckers are devouring?
Well, now wait a minute. I know where you might be going with this. You go first.
Well, so I was thinking that like, you know, it's interesting in that Dax conversation, he was saying that like Biden, like abortion wasn't a big enough reason for him to say that like Biden was our best choice, essentially. But I just think, you know, it's interesting, this conversation around we need to protect women's sports. Isn't it interesting that we're talking about protecting women's sports in the year after like the access to abortion was returned to states' rights, when over half of the women in this country live in a state where they can't get an abortion? So you're telling me in some states in this country, you could get raped by someone in your family and impregnated at an early age and not have access to an abortion. But we're talking about little tiny trans girls or, you know, high school trans girls being able to do like track and field or volleyball or whatever, because you could get injured from playing a sport that like hundreds, if not thousands of high school and college girls get injured in those sports and have been getting injured in those sports, whether there was trans people playing or not, because sports are dangerous. Don't we think it's kind of weird that in the time when the largest restriction, and you want to talk about, you know, Black mortality rates, and now we can't even get fucking abortions if you have an ectopic pregnancy or if you have any of these issues, like, and we have women who can't get a fucking abortion. And also I interviewed Melinda Gates, who told me that her whole thing was increasing reproductive access to like third world countries, right? The number one inhibitor of women's ability to move up economically is the lack of ability to plan your family, to plan your pregnancies. If you have a kid and you can't afford it. And then I interviewed this other lady, Sally Krawcheck, who was the first CEO of Citibank, but she was saying, first female CEO of Citibank, but she was saying it's not only the income gap, it's the wealth gap. Why is there such a wealth gap between men and women? It's because moms are paying for the diapers. They're paying for the food. Dad's not always around.
Even when I'm hearing so much of what you're saying, and look, I'm not like a crazy conspiracy person, and I don't necessarily believe people are sitting back being like, this is what we'll do. I think it's kind of like—
No, conservative think tanks do that. They literally do that. And they did that last year.
If they are doing that, I feel so much of what you said and what they are, quote unquote, could be doing is based in literally turning everyone against each other. You got to stab somebody else to get yourself up.
Yeah, it's like if you're for trans rights, then you're not for women's rights. That is so not true. Like, they go hand in hand. Like,
but that's what that's how they put them together, though. They're literally putting them together where they're saying, in order to have trans rights, say goodbye, women. And in order for women to do this, say goodbye, trans. And it's like, wait a fucking minute. Why can't we just all be good?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be pitted? Why does all this stuff, like, why is it in order to help, it also gives me with this whole conversation, also with this whole rich versus poor, and like how, I mean, just capitalism in general, like just how we've gotten to an all-time high with this greed and shit like that. I mean, it's like when you really sit back, we're not even really thriving like that. Like the whole government, I feel like it has not progressed past slavery. Like, even though, you know, people assume, like, it's like, oh, slavery's abolished, but really it's just rebranded, because nobody actually is getting able to live life without doing. All of our lives are based off of our value in what we can do. It's literally given, make yourself useful. And we're all literally working ourselves to death, and most people are not actually going to be able to reach that level of wealth for so many reasons. And I mean, simple ones like everybody don't even have the economic education to know how to scale in that way, to be able to work under a corporation and flip it into something that of their own. Like, it's just like, it's constantly a limit that is stopping people from being able to really thrive, which to me is so unfortunate and also so stupid, because if we're capping people from their ability to thrive and to get to a higher level, then we're capping also our country. We're literally stopping ourselves from, if I'm making everybody little and small and just only 5 people is doing good, well, then we aren't really even thriving as a country, because how the worst people in your society are doing is exactly representative really of the whole. That's how I feel. You can't judge it off the best person.
And then those think tanks that are these 5 billionaires are the ones who are making us all think that it's well, I don't, but and you don't, but making a lot of people think that it's trans people that are the issue, or that it's society
or
moving
immigrants
too
that
fast,
are the issue,
or immigrants, or whoever.
That one kills me.
But really, the rich
as well.
keep getting richer.
I mean, all of it
but it's like the rich keep getting richer, and the people who keep supporting a lot of these xenophobic, conservative, racist, anti-queer, anti-trans ideologies keep getting poorer. More unhealthy.
That's the biggest gag of the whole last 4 years or so, or however many years or so, is the whole, well, the reason why you're not getting jobs is because of immigrants. No, motherfucker, I'm not getting jobs because you want me to keep staying on this rat race. Quit playing with me. They blame everybody else as for why things aren't going right, instead of actually saying, let's figure out an actual systemic plan to make things right. No, they pit everybody against each other. So now because you feel like they done told you the reason why you can't get a job is because this person that's come over here, now you mad at that person? Like, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It's just all like fighting and arguing, and it just seems so difficult to figure out how to get us all on the same page. And it also ends up making you feel like you're just too idealistic. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you were talking about the whole Bernie of it all. Like, that was the biggest gag with Bernie, is that people thought what he was saying was comical. They just thought it was too good. There's no way that'll happen. Oh, nobody's, you know what I mean? Like, anytime you try to think of something positive or how to get people on the right page or how to get us all connected, I mean, I get it. We're not all gonna have everything we want, but we could at least not be oppressed. Shit. We could at least be on let's just be chill. You know what I mean? That's not even seeming like, and I was talking to somebody about this on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like, just had a random DM conversation with a girl, and we were just both saying like, damn, what we gonna do? We kind of ended the conversation like super apathetic, kind of like just trying to understand. And that's why, going back to what we were talking about maybe like 5-10 minutes ago, is just like, it's really going to be up to the next generation for us to figure it out. Millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. But here's the kicker for me, is I believe that there are some old heads that really want to help us get it right. You know what I mean? We got to find them and we got to connect to them, because we do need to understand the past so we can make better choices in the present and really actually figure out how we can change things systemically. It's more than just like, I got my picture black on Twitter. That means I care. I put it up, on my last picture I did hashtag such and such. That shows I care. It's like, what are the actual actions?
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
How's being a mom? You're really like blossoming into your you were just like this like newfound sensuality as a fan who's just like, I'm living for this era.
I'm living for this era as well, because, I literally did not even I was always I'm very critical. I'm a Virgo, so I'm always very critical of my body, very critical of this, of that. But after I had my baby, I just became so much more confident, because it was just like, baby, I birthed a child. Fuck what you heard. I just became so I'm that girl, because I pushed my damn son out of my vagina. So I just felt so major. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
As you should.
It's just, it gives you such an empowered feeling that you just feel so sexy, so hot, so amazing. And you just feel powerful in your body, because you can't believe that your body did this. My body created a whole machinery inside to hold my son. And then I pushed him out and we was going together, and it was like, boom, boom, boom. It's just it really is magical. It's really, on a scientific, on a spiritual level, it is life-changing. I'll never be the same again. And I'm so strong. It's given I'm motherfucking Mike Tyson out here. You don't even know, Jonathan. It's so deep.
Your mom era is just so beautiful. And I love how you are defining it for you. And it's someone who's just been a fan for a long time. I just am really loving this era. And also,
thank you so much.
I don't even know where I have felt like the need to go here, but I will. I just feel like you're you cannot help but go like this. Your career, it's always going to be like this.
Oh my gosh.
You just keep getting better. You're like the theme song of Queer Eye. She just keeps getting better. She just
Thank you for this manifestation of my life.
And I also see the music too. I can't believe that it's going to be like multiple Grammy winning producing, songwriting. No, and one of these days, the way that it's about to blow up on TikTok, my weather person prediction is, I think it's coming. It's either Q4 or Q1 of this year. It's right. So I needed to keep on doing. The children are loving it.
It's
keep doing it. Keep doing it. But I think and the way that the music industry, I think, is just about to shit their pants.
Oh, wait, I thought you were about to say shift, and I'm here for shit their pants. I'm going to be quiet and let you keep on going because this is giving me life, and I feel that you're being
no, because I think you're gonna be like, you're like, I'm so ready for this. Like, you're gonna be like the fucking Black Taylor Swift crossover music.
Come the fuck on.
Girl.
Come the fuck on.
No, because I know that you're lethal with your pin too. Like, your comedy pin is lethal too. And so when it gets into I'm really ready. My pussy is so ready for that.
Come on,
like,
puss.
And if you need I'm not really good, man. I could do your hand massages. I do a great blow dry. I can do a beautiful flat wrap. I am not good at installing a weave, but I can style the fuck out of one. I can do your scalp massages, but if we're in between any sort of thing,
or have you ever seen that meme? Have you ever seen that meme where the guy's on stage and his homeboy is behind him like this?
Is that me? Can I be that?
That's you. You like this.
Or actually, real talk, I think I'd be a really good, pit viper, tour manager or dance manager. I feel like I wouldn't let anything get, I would be so militant about making sure
you seem very
that,
organized.
just really, I just would be, the most non-problematic but hardcore,
bitch, get it right for my girl Keke now.
Yes. And I would just really know how to be selectively permeable. You know what I mean? I would only bring the shit that you absolutely have to see. You know what I'm saying? Only the best for Keke. But I would do it so normal. You know what I mean? Not like how I just did it. Really just poised. Do you know what I mean?
Jonathan, I absolutely love you. And today has been so much fun.
I never want it to be over.
Your time. I know, I can keep on going.
I love you more than life.
Before we actually go, we have to play a game. I want to play a game. It's called Questions That Need to Be Answered, okay? And I know you're always your authentic self and honest, so I have some burning questions to ask you that you have to answer honestly. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. You've tried a lot of different looks, both on yourself and on others. What do you think was your biggest flop? This is hard, because,
the GLAAD Awards 2018.
Wow, you knew it immediately.
I went with Michelle Kwan as my date. It was my birthday. It was the best day of my life. But I did her hair, and I freaked out so hard that I was walking a red carpet with Michelle that I literally left the hotel without doing my makeup. I just forgot. I did my hair, and then I did her hair, and then I just was like, oh my God, let's go. Because I had started drinking because it was my birthday. And so then I went to this red carpet, and I sat in the back of this car for really long, and my dress got all wrinkled. So I was just in this wrinkly ass dress.
Oh my gosh, girl. It was giving a mess.
No makeup. And the dress was like a nightgown, and then I'd been drinking, so I was really red, and my dress was blue. And
it's giving Beyonce after that partition moment in the limousine chair.
No, don't insult her like that. Not in public. It was really so much worse. Beyonce could never look like that.
On the floor. Okay, last year you released your second book. Was there anything you wanted to include that the editors or publishers made you cut?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to do I had written a whole chapter about the experience of the 2020 election, and then they were like, bitch, no one wants to read that anymore. It's over. And I was like, it's kind of fun. It's a diary. And they're like, and then no.
It's you trying to get them hype. Talking about something. It's kind of fun. It's like a diary. And they're like, no.
No one wants to relive it. It just happened. And I was like, you're so right.
Okay. Now, you and your now husband, Mark Peacock, got married in secret during COVID in 2020. Congrats, boo-boo. Now, why did you choose to actually keep it a secret? How did you and y'all's family feel about that decision?
Well, here was the thing. Obviously couldn't get his family here from the United Kingdom because of travel restrictions at that time. And I felt weird about, having my family come, even if it was just my mom or a couple people, and then not having his be able to join. So we just wanted to keep it really intimate. So it was just us and a judge and my friend who was a photographer. He took a couple pictures, and we did it outside, and our parents joined on Zoom. And it was kind of just yeah, it was just we hadn't dated for that long, and I didn't really want everyone's input or feedback. And so I just followed my heart. And then when I was ready to talk about it, I did, which was buried on a carousel for New Year's Eve, wrap up post. And I did it in kind of a weird way. I didn't know how to. And
I like the casual and the nonchalant. It's a hard thing being a public figure, always being in the forefront and people wanting to always be in your business and you being happy and you wanting to share that, but also don't really want all the opinions. It can be hard. So sometimes it's kind of like, yeah, get into it and move on because you want people to also move on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I get it. Okay, you're currently on tour for Fun and Slutty. You went to a ton of different cities and you performed in several audiences, but obviously this is hard. I just came off of tour, but I'm still going to ask you, which audience was the hardest to win over?
I would say this particular tour, Fun and Slutty, it's really just been so, like, it hasn't been too hard. I do a couple jokes about HIV, about living with HIV, because I am living with HIV, so, like, I'm allowed to joke about it. And I did this one joke in Australia that flopped really hard in Sydney. They did not respond. And so where I said, I'm HIV positive, this was my second pandemic. And then all the air just like went out of the room and no one responded. And so then I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Sydney. I was like, did you guys not understand what the accent was like? Let me try that again. I'm HIV positive. This is my second pandemic. And then I was like, give me a H. And they were like, H. And then I was like, give me a hi. And they were like, I. And then I was like, give me a V. And they were like, V. And I was like, what's that spell? HIV. HIV. And then after they chanted HIV like 5 times, I was like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, why didn't you just laugh at the joke? Like, we could have, first of all, what's wrong with you?
We didn't have to do any of this, but you put me to it.
And then they did it. And then after that, it was all good. By the way,
that is brilliant. And isn't that the thing with doing comedy is like the recovery? Because I'm like, every joke's not going to hit, but the recovery. And that was a brilliant recovery. I mean, good grief, that was good. Because, I mean, I like dark jokes, but nowadays we're such in, like I was saying, we're such in a, like, there's not a lot of nuance. It's like here we are, yet bringing more nuance to sexuality, gender, identity, all these different things. But yet people have also become more black and white than ever as it becomes to just their attitudes about things. So sometimes comedy, it makes it hard for comedy because people are like, I'm not supposed to laugh. It's serious. Or this isn't a joke. Or it shouldn't be. And so it can make it so difficult. So the fact that you're like, guys, like, we're supposed to, like, life is hard. You supposed to laugh at the hard shit in here. You know what I mean?
Also, and it's cool when I like comedy where like you can make fun of yourself and you don't have to like shit on other people to be funny. Yes. And I do think like that's one thing where like in comedy, like some of like the most revered comedians, like just their comedy is shitting on other people or like making like, I just don't. You can be so funny without having to like shit. I mean, unless it's Republicans. I do shit on Republicans and conservatives in my comedy. I do a lot of turf jokes. But they deserve it. So
literally, I don't think many people disagree with you.
Keke, will you give me one clean line of "We did it, Joe" without me fucking talking over it?
Absolutely. We did it, Joe. You're the president of the United States of America. Jonathan, you're amazing. I love you. Thank you for coming on, baby. This is Keke. Thank you.
I love you so much.
I love you.
Thanks for having me.
I, for one, am feeling fired up after that conversation, okay? I'm going to run with that feeling for a little bit. Goodbye for now, but we will be back next week. Until then, it's your girl,
baby.